Hey guys, it's Janice. Welcome back to my channel. This is my comic book wrap up for November. I was originally planning on just tacking these on to the end of my reading wrap up, but there are far too many to do that. So I'm just going to show you everything that I read, try to keep it as brief as possible, although there are 29 comics that I read this month. So I'm going to start by some that I don't actually have copies of any longer. They were Carl's or friends, and the first one is Saga number 31. Saga is really big in BookTube, so I'm sure it's something that you have heard of, if not read, up to this point, but it is really, really good. It follows Hazel, who is the child of two parents who are from warring races. They're not supposed to be able to have children together, so the fact that they fell in love and had a baby kind of disproves one of the core beliefs that's fueling this war. So she is kind of being hunted. She's not kind of being hunted. She is being hunted. There are bounty hunters after her to find and kill her because the world cannot know that these two different races can have children. The comic book follows her and her parents, and this current issue follows her experience with her grandmother, and I think she's in some kind of prison at this point, though the people who have her captured do not realize who she is. The next comic book that I read was Huck number 1. Huck number 1 is about a man who has some special powers, and every day he does a good deed, a different good deed for people, and they can range from something really small but still significant, like taking out the trash for every single person in his town very early in the morning, to rescuing a person that's lost on a lake, on a freezing lake, and the town keeps his secret, but one day a person comes to the town she's new to the town. She finds out his secret, and the issue ends with her having told people and there being reporters in the town. I don't really know where this comic book's gonna go from here, but I don't know that they have any proof, so I don't know why this guy's just like, yeah, she's crazy. I don't know what she's talking about, other than the fact that the girl thought she threw away a necklace and he, found it and gave it to her. So I don't know. And then the next thing that I read is the Pantheon Project, or Project Pantheon. I should have written that down before I started this video. But it is about a group of friends that like to LARP, live action roleplay as kids. They have like these personas that they've created and jumped a few years ahead, and they're teenagers, and then one day they all wake up and they actually have these powers, and they are these personas that they've created. And it's just a short trade paperback. It's by Eric Taylor, I believe is the name of the author, and the art's by Layla Del Duca, who does the art for Shudder, and it just follows their experiences gaining their abilities, and kind of gives you a little bit of backstory as to where these abilities come from. It was a Kickstarter. It only has the 4 issues. I felt it wasn't enough. I liked the story, but I would have liked to know more. I think it ended very abruptly, but that's just me. But I did enjoy the story. The next thing that I read this month are Shudder number 16 or number 17 and 18. The art in this is by Layla Del Duca, and so that's why I pulled this up next. Nothing is really in any kind of order other than this one specifically. And this follows Kate Christopher, who's an adventurer, and she's from a line of adventurers. She believes she's an only child and then finds out she's not. It is 16 and 17. There is a organization of people who kind of control everything that happens, like major disasters and things like that. And there's this one race of people, like this one kingdom called Leonis, and it's a lion kingdom, so it's like these lion men, and they aren't controlled. They aren't part of this organization. I can't remember what it's called, but they've got these red hoods on and red masks. And so she finds out that the Leonis people aren't part of the organization, and she goes to them and she tells them that she intends to end the world. So it's very interesting and very beautiful. Layla Del Duca's art is awesome. The next thing I read, and I'm so excited that this came back out, is Pretty Deadly number 6. This is by Kelly Sue DeConnick, art by Amarios, and the coloring by Jordi Belair. Those 3 women are just amazing together. I mean, the art is beautiful, the story is poetic, and it's just like, the first arc is told, it's an actual, it's a story that somebody else is telling. It is a butterfly and a bunny skeleton, and they're telling the story of Ginny, who is the daughter of Death, or stepdaughter of Death, and how she came about being raised by death, and it's just really beautiful and really interesting, and it follows a bunch of interesting characters, and I'm really excited to see where this goes, because this issue I thought was really interesting. I don't know if it's the butterfly still narrating, or I think it was. I know that it was some animal, and I believe it was a butterfly, but I can't remember very well. I have a really bad memory. The next thing I got was Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan. This is issue number 2. Number 1 was really good. I really liked it, but I didn't see like number 2 happening, like coming the way it did. It's kind of like Rapture, like a lot of the people have disappeared, and I didn't really foresee that in the events that took place in the first issue. I might need to go back and reread that, because like I said, I have a bad memory, but I feel like I would have anticipated something like that if there were any hints to it. The next one I read was Rat Queens number 13. This is about a band of women adventurers, and they are like a World of Warcraft, Dungeons and Dragons kind of like group that goes on adventures and takes on quests and things like that. And right now they're in Mage University, which is where Hannah went to school because she is a mage, and I believe some kind of demon. She's like half demon or something like that. And they're there. I don't remember exactly the reason they're there, but I know that her father is being held prisoner by some people who are trying to overthrow the Nine, which I think it was called the Nine, and they're the people who control the university. And it's really fun, but it has its serious notes as well. But the characters are just really interesting and adorable, and just, I know I use this word a lot to describe the comics that I read, but it's just really fun. I have Lumberjanes number 19 and 20. I'm not going to go into this too much, but it's fun and it's adorable. This issue is about some mermaids. It's just some girls at summer camp, and there's a bunch of supernatural stuff. And then I also have Lumberjanes Beyond Bayleaf, issue 1. This is a standalone. At this point, there's not any second or third or anything like that. And you don't have to read the other stories to be able to read this one, and you don't have to read this one to be caught up on everything that's happening in there. And it just follows 5 friends and the adventures that they have at their supernatural summer camp. I read Nutmeg 5 and 6. This is about 2 girls who are trying to seek revenge on some other girls at their school. So they create some brownies with a lot of nutmeg in them, and nutmeg in large quantities can make people sick. And they're going to try to pass them off as being sold by the other girls that they're taking revenge on. But when somebody gets a hold of the brownies, it turns out that they're not making people sick, but they're making people hallucinate or react like they're on drugs. And one of the girls in the most recent issues appears to be developing a habit and addiction for these brownies. One of the girls that's creating them. And it just follows the issues that they experience. And they were getting very close, but they definitely seem to be kind of falling apart as their drug operation is taking off, I guess. All right. I read Giant Days 7 and 8. This is about 3 girls who are in university, and it's very real and has a good message and stuff like that. Has a good message. This most recent issue is about Esther, who is dating a teacher's assistant, and he kind of is encouraging her to change who she is a little bit. And so she goes to meet his friends, and she feels kind of dumb. And I don't know if they're intentionally trying to make her feel that way, like young and dumb, but she does feel that way. So then she's invited to another party with some faculty type people, and she dresses not like herself, not goth, and just very ladylike and things like that. And she's read all these magazines, so she would have, good conversation to have with these people. And halfway through, he kind of pulls her aside, the guy she's dating, and he's like, "You're embarrassing yourself." And she's like, "No, you mean I'm embarrassing you." And she kind of realizes that he is not who she thought he was, and that he's not somebody that is worth her time. And she goes and she puts on her goth makeup, and she comes out and she says to the party that she's leaving. And as she's leaving, he follows her out, and the people at the table are like, "Can't he leave and she come back?" because they were just having more fun with her. And so I just think it has a lot of, it's cute and fun, but has some really good messages in it. Don't change for people, to be yourself. You know, it's not worth it. I read Rumble #1. This is Carl's comic, and I remember enjoying it, but I don't really remember anything about it. I read it at the beginning of the month, and I know that there was a guy at a bar, and he got attacked by these like demon-like things, I guess. Carl's really enjoying it. That's all I know about that one. I read Clean Room #1. This is about a woman whose fiance commits suicide, and he commits suicide after reading a self-help book, and she's trying to figure out what in that self-help book drove him to commit suicide. And so she's trying to get a meeting with the author of the book. It's really interesting, and I'm super excited to continue reading this and see where it goes. I read Low #10. Low is about a world, or our world, and it's in the future. The world has become uninhabitable because of like radiation from the sun, so they move into these cities under the ocean, but those are also starting to not be able to support life. So I can't think of her name right now, she's on a journey to try to find another planet that can sustain life, and in the process she's just encountering all these other people under the sea. It starts off in the first issue with her husband being murdered and her 2 daughters being kidnapped, and throughout the series she runs into one of her daughters, and then I think later into another one. It's really beautiful. I haven't really heard anybody talk about it, and I'm not super surprised. I don't think it's like the most phenomenal thing. The art is amazing though. And then I read Revival #34. This is about a town in Wisconsin where one day a bunch of people come back to life, and they're kind of crazy. Not like zombies or anything like that, but like this woman, she had dentures because all of her teeth were gone. But after she comes back, her teeth grow back, and it kind of makes her like go crazy, and she starts like pulling out all her teeth every single time they grow in. And it just follows the sheriff of the town whose sister was murdered, but she didn't find out her sister was murdered until her sister was impaled with like a sickle or a scythe or whatever, and didn't die because she was a reviver. And it's really interesting. Very, very odd. I read The Troll by Martin Flink. This is a standalone comic about a boy who is like playing in the woods, and he stumbles upon this troll, and it's just a short little adventure book. There's no dialogue or anything like that. It's just all art, and the art is beautiful. I read The Last Days of Miss Marvel. This is #19. This is the last issue in the last run. The current run just started, and this just covers like Miss Marvel after she has told her parents who she is, or her mother who she is, and she's trying to keep her town safe because of things that are going on in the rest of the Marvel universe, but not totally covered in this book. But she's an Avenger now, so that's really exciting. I read The Woods by James Tynion, and this one is about a whole school that is transported to another dimension or another planet. I don't really know, but it's really interesting. There's like these Asian communist guys who have shown up now and are trying to take over the school because they have just kind of, after turmoil and stuff like that in the first few issues, they've kind of accepted that they're stuck here for the long haul and try to just build a town, a life here, and they're being overthrown or something. I read The Beauty 3 and 4, and this is about an STD that makes you beautiful and thin and have perfect hair and perfect teeth and everything like that, and there don't really seem to be any downsides to it until somebody blows up on a subway. And it turns out that some pharmaceutical people were aware that people were potentially going to start blowing up, and they came up with a drug that cured the beauty. But who wants to cure something when you can just make money off of making sure the people who have it don't die? And so there's kind of like that greed factor, and it follows a couple cops who are investigating what's happening to the people who are experiencing the beauty. And I really like this one. All right, almost done. The Wicked and the Divine, number 15 and 16. This is about every 90 years A pantheon of gods are resurrected, not resurrected, but kind of like woken up. They're woken up in people who are currently living, and they live for 2 years as pop stars, and like they change the face of pop culture for the time and stuff like that. And this just follows some of the gods. And I followed for a while a girl named Laura who wasn't a god but was a super god fan and supporter, and I think she does eventually turn into a god, but then she gets murdered right away. So it's really interesting. Definitely read it. That one's really, really interesting and really cool art. And then the last one we have here is Descender number 7. This is about far in the future. Something has happened that's caused androids to not be legal anymore, and it follows Team 21, who is an android alive, and his experiences being hunted by bounty hunters and eventually being hunted by his former brother Andy, who is a human and who seems to be a little cruel at this point for what we have, from what we have to go on at this point, because he's just taking robots and killing them or whatever. Like in this issue, you're introduced to Andy as an adult for the first time, and he goes to this planet that's like not able to sustain life. There's no way that it can, like, people can farm there, but there are these farming robots that are able to cultivate, food and things like that. And he takes the robots, and they're like, if you take us, these people will die. And he just takes them because there's a bounty out for them. So he doesn't really have any empathy or things like that. But he is now on the search for his brother Andy. His brother Tim 21, now that he knows that he's alive again. So those are the comic books that I read this month. I was really satisfied with everything I read so far. It's the end of the month. I'm not going to be reading anything else, but I was really interested in everything that I read and really inspired to read a lot of comics this month, which is really good because sometimes they get backed up so much for me. Let me know what you read this month and how you feel about the ones that I read. Give me a like if you like this video and subscribe if you want to see more. You can follow me on Tumblr, Twitter, and Instagram. Same name here, JJJJanis. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.